What the fuck is up, you beautiful bastards? Welcome back for another deep dive. And you know what? This time you guys really flooded our inbox with a shitload of info on graffiti. So we're going to unpack this motherfucker and see what I mean. You probably think you know graffiti, right? Bunch of dumbass kids with spray cans just vandalizing shit.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, get ready to have your tiny minds blown,
Right.
because graffiti is a hell of a lot more than meets the eye.
Yeah, it is.
To help us navigate this shitstorm,
We've got
certified badass in the house, someone who can actually tell us what the hell is going on beneath the surface of all that spray paint.
It's definitely a more complex world than most people realize. Thanks for having me.
Okay, so first things first, and this just blew my fucking mind when I saw it in the research you sent. Graffiti goes way the fuck back.
Yeah.
Like ancient Rome, dude. Seriously. Those toga-wearing motherfuckers were tagging walls.
Oh, yeah. Big time. We're talking dick jokes, political rants, the whole 9 yards. Pompeii is like a time capsule of ancient graffiti, and it gives us a glimpse into what those ancient asshats were really thinking.
So it wasn't just some random bullshit they were scribbling. It was like their version of social media or something.
Exactly. It was their way of communicating, expressing themselves, and even dissing each other. And what's fascinating is that it wasn't always seen as vandalism back then. It was just a part of everyday life. In some cases, it was even encouraged as a form of public discourse.
Damn, that's wild. So hold up, they even had graffiti of Jesus back then.
Believe it or not, yeah. There's this famous graffito called the Alexamenos graffito, which shows a crucified figure with the head of a donkey. Next to it, it says, Alexamenos worships his god. It's thought to be one of the earliest depictions of Jesus, but definitely not in a reverent way.
So some ancient troll was taking the piss out of Christians.
Yeah.
That's fucking hilarious. Okay, so people have been leaving their mark on walls since forever, but how the hell did we get from ancient Roman dicks to the elaborate graffiti we see today? Did it just disappear for a while and then magically reappear?
Not quite. Graffiti never really went away. You can find examples of it throughout history, from medieval churches to castle walls, but it took on a different form. It wasn't until the late 1800s that something resembling modern graffiti started to emerge.
Okay, I'm intrigued. Lay it on me.
Think hobos and rail workers. These guys were traveling all over the country, hopping on and off trains, and they started leaving their marks, these stylized signatures on the train cars. It was a way of marking their territory, communicating with each other, and just leaving a trace of their existence.
So that's where that whole train thing started. Makes sense. But what about all those crazy styles we see today? The tags, the throw-ups, the wild style shit. That's got to be connected to hip-hop somehow, right?
You nailed it. The 1960s and 70s were a pivotal time for graffiti, especially in New York and Philadelphia. This was the era of hip-hop's rise, and graffiti became an integral part of that culture. It was about rebellion, self-expression, and leaving your mark on a city that often felt indifferent to your existence.
All right, so break it down for us. What are the different types of graffiti besides just tagging shit? Give us the lowdown.
Well, you've got your throw-ups, which are like bigger, bolder tags, often done quickly with bubble letters. Think of it as a more impactful signature. Then you've got pieces, which are the more elaborate murals you see, with characters, landscapes, and all sorts of intricate details. These can take days or even weeks to complete. And then there's the infamous wild style.
Yeah, wild style.
Yeah.
That shit always looks like a jumbled mess to me. Like someone just threw a bunch of letters in a blender and splattered them on a wall.
I can see why you'd say that. It's definitely the most complex and abstract style of graffiti. The letters are intertwined, distorted, and often illegible to the untrained eye. But that's the beauty of it. It's like a visual puzzle that takes serious skill to decipher. Think of it like calligraphy on crack.
Damn, that's a good way to put it. So this ain't just some random shit kids are spraying on walls. It's a whole fucking art form. But let's be real, a lot of people still see it as vandalism. So is this shit art or just a bunch of assholes fucking up property?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? And there's no easy answer. Some people see it as a valid form of public art and expression, while others see it as straight-up defacement of property. It really comes down to intent, context, and frankly, who you ask.
Yeah, those uptight asshats probably hate any form of creative expression. That doesn't involve a wine and cheese pairing. But what about those graffiti artists who've made it big, like Banksy? Isn't it kind of ironic that this rebellious art form is now being embraced by the mainstream and sold for millions?
It's definitely a fascinating paradox. The commercialization of graffiti has brought it into the spotlight and given some artists mainstream recognition, but it also raises questions about authenticity and the commodification of rebellion. Can something that's inherently anti-establishment truly survive in a gallery setting? That's a debate that's still raging.
Damn, that's some deep shit.
Yeah.
All right, so we know graffiti got its start in New York.
Right.
But let's be real, this shit is fucking everywhere now. I've seen it from the back alleys of Paris to some random-ass building in my grandma's town. It's like a global phenomenon, right?
Absolutely. Graffiti has spread like wildfire. And it's taken on different forms and styles depending on the region. It's not just a copy and paste of the New York style. Each place has its own unique flavor, influenced by local culture, politics, and artistic traditions. It's like a global language, but with different dialects and accents.
So it's a visual Esperanto for the rebellious and pissed off. I dig it. All right, let's talk about that graffiti in politics. Now things are about to get fucking interesting.
Graffiti has always had this rebellious streak, a way for people to speak truth to power when they feel like no one's listening. It's like a giant fuck you to the establishment, but with way more style.
Hell yeah. And it's not just about scribbling some edgy slogans. This shit can be powerful as fuck. Think about the Berlin Wall, man. That was like a giant canvas for people to express their rage and frustration without that whole bullshit separation.
The Berlin Wall is a perfect example of how graffiti can become a symbol of resistance. People on both sides were using it to communicate, to share messages of hope and defiance. It turned that symbol of oppression into a testament to the human spirit's unyielding desire for freedom.
And it wasn't just limited to Germany. You see this shit popping up in protests and revolutions all over the world, like the Arab Spring, for example. People were using graffiti to challenge dictators and demand change.
Exactly. It's a way for people to reclaim public space and make their voices heard, especially in places where free speech is suppressed. It's a potent tool for dissent and social commentary.
But can this shit go too far? What about offensive graffiti or even hate speech? Where do you draw the line between art and just being a total asshole?
That's a tough one. The line between expression and offense is definitely blurry, and it's often dependent on context. What might be considered offensive in one culture could be seen as harmless or even humorous in another. And then there's the whole free speech debate. Who gets to decide what's acceptable and what's not? It's a complex issue with no easy answers.
Yeah, it's a slippery fucking slope. But hey, let's not forget the governments and their endless war on graffiti. They act like it's the fucking apocalypse if someone spray paints a wall. Seriously, don't they have bigger problems to worry about than some dude tagging a bridge? What kind of crazy shit do they do to try and stop it?
Governments around the world have taken various approaches, from zero-tolerance policies and hefty fines to designated graffiti zones and even tracker databases to track down these artistic bandits.
Tracker databases? Are you fucking kidding me? It's like they're treating these guys like serial killers or something.
It does seem a bit extreme, right? But some cities argue that these measures are necessary to deter vandalism and protect public property. The effectiveness of these approaches is debatable, though.
What about those legal graffiti walls they're setting up in some cities? Does that shit actually work to reduce vandalism, or does it just create more of it?
It's a mixed bag, to be honest. Some people argue that it gives graffiti artists a legitimate outlet for their creativity and can help reduce illegal tagging. Others believe it just legitimizes the activity and makes it more acceptable, leading to more graffiti overall. It's a complex issue with no easy answers.
Speaking of complex issues, did you know they actually cane people for graffiti in some countries? Like actual beatings with a stick? That shit's brutal.
Yeah, it's definitely a controversial punishment. The most famous case is probably Michael P. Fay, an American student who was caught vandalizing cars in Singapore in the 1990s. He was sentenced to caning, which caused a huge international uproar.
Damn, that's some fucked up shit.
Really?
But hey, it's all part of the wild world of graffiti, right?
It definitely highlights the vastly different cultural attitudes towards graffiti and the extremes to which some governments will go to control it. It's a constant push and pull between freedom of expression and maintaining order, I guess.
All right, so we've covered a lot of ground here, from ancient Roman dicks to modern-day canings. But graffiti isn't just about spray paint anymore, right? I've seen that yarn bombing shit, where people are covering trees and statues with knitted stuff. That's some next-level creativity right there.
It is. Graffiti is constantly evolving, blending with other art forms and pushing the boundaries of what's possible. You've got yarn bombing, sticker art installations, and all sorts of creative ways people are leaving their mark on the urban landscape.
Yeah, those knitting grannies are taking over the streets. It's like a guerrilla craft movement or some shit.
Yeah.
But it's cool to see graffiti evolving and becoming more than just vandalism.
Definitely. It shows that graffiti isn't just about rebellion or destruction. It can also be about beautifying public spaces, bringing communities together, and making people smile.
Damn. That's pretty wholesome for a bunch of rule breakers and spray paint bandits. So after diving deep into this world of graffiti, what's the takeaway for our listeners?
I think the main takeaway is that graffiti is far more complex and nuanced than most people realize. It's a constantly evolving form of expression, with a rich history, diverse styles, and a powerful voice. Whether you see it as art vandalism or something in between, there's no denying its impact on urban culture and its ability to spark important conversations about art politics and social change.
Damn, that's deep. I'm starting to see graffiti in a whole new light now. It's not just about tagging buildings, it's about leaving your mark on the world, whether it's with spray paint yarn or even just a fucking message. Makes you think about what kind of mark you're leaving on the world, doesn't it? Not just on walls, but in like everything you do. Kind of a head fuck, man.
It is. It's about finding your voice, expressing yourself, and leaving something behind that's meaningful, even if it's just a small dent in the universe.
Damn, that's some profound shit right there. So graffiti's more than just some kids tagging buildings. It's history, it's culture, it's politics, it's even fucking knitting. Who would have thought? All right, you beautiful bastards. That's our deep dive into the wild world of graffiti. We've gone from ancient Roman dicks to modern-day yarn bombers. And I don't know about you, but my mind is officially blown.
It's been a pleasure.
The pleasure was all ours. Stay rad, motherfuckers.